Reid and Richard here from Christies PMP, here today to have a discussion on another tenancy topic. And what we're going to talk about today is the state of the market, the lettings market as we see it. And we're just having a general chat. It's something that we wanted to do at the start of the year 2013. And so we're just going to talk generally about the market and give you our overview of the market today. So, Richard, there has been many changes in the lettings market, and we've seen some major changes. And why do you think that is? I mean, what's your overview, generally as to why we've arrived where we are today at the state of the market?
Well, I think it goes back to the onset of the financial crisis in late 2008, which had an immediate knock-on effect at the market. During 2009, residential rents plummeted. Rents fell across the board by 20-25%, even more so at the upper end of the market, let's say. But that had an effect on changing tenants' attitudes, the fall in property values, the unpredictability and uncertainty in the market, which has resulted in trends and attitudes changing in the private rented sector, where we now see tenants renting for longer periods and not viewing tenancies as a short or stopgap scenario, which might have been the case heretofore. In Ireland, traditionally, people get their first job, get their first car, buy their first property as soon as they possibly can. We've seen a marked change in attitudes and behaviour in that respect.
But why do you think that is? I mean, what are the major influences that has led to that? I mean, is it the fact that the people can't get mortgages now?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the banks. Nobody needs telling about the condition of the banks. Banks' lending criteria has tightened up considerably. Not only that, if the availability of mortgages or if mortgages were more readily available, people are still reluctant to enter into a mortgage. And bring that burden upon themselves for a number of factors.
What do you think those factors are?
Well, the uncertainty in property values. Is your property going to increase in value or decrease in value? Trends in more recently have seen properties decrease quite significantly in value. Whereas heretofore people would have been buying a property on the basis that it was going to increase in value, and significantly so. That has completely changed. Also, job security is not what it once was. I mean, certainly the job for life is no longer. So people are unsure if their job is going to be long-lasting. If they were to lose their job, how would they keep up mortgage repayments? And also there's the flexibility in relocating. People want that flexibility, that they need to relocate to where they can find work.
Sure.
And not to
be anchored with a mortgage. The way it is now also.
Absolutely.
That people, I presume, just want, as you say, the flexibility just to up and go. And I suppose another important point that we've seen is demographics. I mean, it's there's been a lot of changes in people's behaviour and.
Well, during the boom years, the Celtic Tiger years, we have seen an explosion in Ireland's population, of course, with many foreign nationals coming to live in Ireland, which puts added pressure on the rental stock. Couple that with the financial crisis, which saw an immediate halt almost to the provision of new property stock, particularly in major urban areas, and Dublin, particularly what we're talking about here. So there's increasing numbers of tenants vying for diminishing availability of rental stock, which has seen a recent upturn in terms of rental values. In terms of demographics, as you say, yes, young people are now not getting on the property ladder, as it were, as early as they used to. They're renting for longer. Also, you find that people aren't getting married as young as they once were, so people are staying single for longer. Therefore, there's a need for independent or individual dwellings for longer periods. In contrast, you'll find divorces and separations, marriage breakdowns have increased. So you're finding maybe middle-aged people more and more coming back into the property market looking for rental stock, again putting pressure on the availability. So I suppose in a nutshell, we're seeing a swing now where there's a burgeoning tenant population and a diminishing availability of rental stock.
So, but what would you say though? Because a lot of people say to us all the time, but sure, I mean, we hear that there's loads of empty properties and blocks of empty properties around the place. I mean,
Not in the traditionally sought after areas. I mean, in any city in the world, the tenant demographic is pretty similar. Your majority of the tenant market would be your 20-something, 30-something, young professional people. And these people want to live in central urban areas. Like in Dublin, for example, you're talking Dublin 2, 4, 6,
or city
8.
centre.
Yeah, and Dublin 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, all the central districts around close to the city, which have the best public transport, best public amenities and services, and close to their workplaces if they're working in the city, of course. So there isn't any major void
Empty
problem
lots,
in the central areas.
Yeah.
No.
Possibly in the counties.
More peripheral locations, certainly, and there was a lot
Yeah.
of development in the peripheral locations during the boom years, which, as you know, we always felt was going to be problematic down the road. They're not traditionally sought after areas. You'll find that landlords who are struggling to get these properties let now might lower their standards, let's say, for want of a better expression, in terms of the calibre of tenant. And a lot of these developments are experiencing social issues now, and extended void periods. For that reason.
So traditionally we still have the city centre areas and the sought after areas. There's still a shortage of stock, So and that in itself would be driving rents up.
Absolutely. Supply and demand.
Supply and demand. Yeah.